Just wanted to start with yesterday's news from the referees, the SFA, the VAR, that they believe they've missed 26 key incidents so far this season. What was your take on that?
What's everyone's take on it? Obviously we want that number, and I dare say the referees and everyone in Scottish football want that number to be zero. How realistic is that? I think it's very unrealistic. However, I think 10 calls deemed incorrect, I think since February, I think is probably the accurate summation of what's went on in recent times. And when you get to that business end of the season, and that can have a huge bearing, it can have a massive effect on clubs, outcomes, league positions, staying in the league, top six, Europe, all these different things. So that is concerning. Of course it's concerning. From my side of it, I've never at any point thought that this would be a scenario where we didn't get anything wrong. I've always felt that we would always have human error. There is quite clearly this objective, subjective nature of decisions. I don't know, obviously I've been very vocal in my thoughts, and sometimes criticised for coming out and speak. Don't know whether people think it's a personal attack from me. It's certainly not. It's just always wanting that greater good of the game. I think what people forget is that I'm a human being, the players are human beings, other managers around the country are human beings, and you know what, sometimes I think gets taken or doesn't get taken into account is how many hours and how much work we do during the week ourselves. Now, not asking anybody to pat us in the back for that. I look at myself, it's minimum 12-hour days every day in preparation for a game on a Saturday, and all the work that goes in, the detail, the time spent in the pitch, time spent in video rooms and all the rest of it. And when you do all of that work and it gets to a Saturday and you feel you've been unjustly called in a decision, something that's had a major impact in the decision, if you'd done all those hours and you'd spent all that time, do you think you'd be a little bit aggrieved? So I think that this is a bit sometimes where we kind of only see it one way, and we don't see it from those who spend their money to come and watch their team, to travel to Pittodrie and all these different places. And again, I'm only using Motherwell from that point of view. The hours I asked the players to spend in this place, the staff, everyone else. I think people have got this vision that football players and staff turn up at 9 o'clock in the morning and they leave at 12 o'clock and it's just this wonderful life. Well, I can assure you it's not. So when you've done all of that, you've sacrificed being away for your family as long as you have, and all these different things that come with it, if that comes about on a Saturday, you're going to be a little bit frustrated, you're going to be a little bit aggrieved. So I say that we're human beings as well, so sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes we get a little bit emotional, but it's always for the greater good of our football club and for the work that we've done over the course of the week. Now, you mentioned the 26 incorrect decisions. Again, what lens are we looking at it through? So I would argue that I would say it could potentially be more. Some would say it could be less. There's any number of ways of looking at it, and if I can just try and define that, we obviously lodged an appeal regarding Jack Vale sending off on Saturday. Where several of us are going to see this incident a different way. The point that I'm trying to make, and I would love other people maybe to see it along the same lines, is that when you have a player now intercepting the ball and hooking it over his shoulder, I'm going to have to again think about trying to coach my players in a different way. I thought Jack Vale done fantastically well to read the flight of the ball, fall over his shoulder and hook a clearance over his shoulder. At that point, when the Aberdeen player's running full steam and runs into you, then there's going to be a contact. And sometimes, as a consequence of playing football, I myself held my hands up and said, I'm going to get kicked, I'm going to get hurt, there's going to be collisions out on that pitch. I think there has to be an understanding of the pace that the opposition player's running at. I looked at the Jack Butland one, I think it was all Lasagna with St Mirren. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the side on still of that one. There must be about 6 or 7 yards there, difference of space between the goalkeeper and the player that's running. He sort of slips, collides with the goalkeeper. So we can't referee games based on somebody got hurt. Yeah, there was a collision in the end, but the goalkeeper's there miles before the attacking player. I feel that Jack Vale got there long before Jack McKenzie, and you have to take into consideration that the other player's running it. So we've lost an appeal. Everyone else that's judging that one sees it in a different light. But the bit, I suppose, my appeal to everyone in Scottish football is, have a look at the opposition player and the speed that the opposition player's running at. If you're running at that pace at another player, there's every chance you're going to make contact with them. There's every chance there's going to be some sort of collision. But every contact and every collision isn't a foul, isn't a red card. So, what would when my players spun round, I think that suggests the force that the opposition players come into the challenge in. And I'm specifying that one. I've used the Jack Butland one for the weekend. So we talk about these 26 decisions. What we'd love us to do is come back over them again, and we will argue that we show them in training, but I think there has to be a different side to that story. I keep speaking about players, ex-coaches, managers, all these different people that watch these types of incidents and saying, well, if you're running at that speed to another player and he's hooked a ball over his shoulder, you're probably going to collide into him. But I don't think we can be looking to send people off for it. And I think that most players will probably agree on that side of things as well. That's been a historic thing in football, that there are collisions, that they're coming together. But as I say, if that's going to be the outcome and that's how we're saying we're going to officiate games from now on, then quite clearly I need to try and coach my players in a different way. But I need to go way back to the start, and I sat in rooms when I was doing a little bit with the press and all the rest of it, and the question was asked, we're going down the realms of making players play the game a different way. Absolutely not. We will not be making players play a different way. You won't be coaching a game a different way. Well, I'm saying that we are now, because when we're asking players to go inside the penalty box and wrap their arms behind their back, and if I'm now saying to my players, if there's an interception to be had and there's opposition players round about you, don't go into it. They're not doing their job then. They're not intercepting the ball. They're not turning the ball over for their team. But on the basis of what I seen on Saturday, I probably have to go to Jack Vale now and say, you're going to have to change the way you play. You're going to have to do something completely different. And again, I go back to day one when VAR was being introduced. We're not changing how this game is played. We're not changing the approach of the game of football. Well, I'm arguing different on that.
Sorry, Stuart, I think the club mentioned that there was no ex-player coach on the panel. Did you get an explanation as to why that was?
No, well, I think again, I would the bit that I would probably give you, I think, was that there was a kind of argument that there was nobody available from that field. Again, I don't want to dip too far into certain things, but the one bit that I will say, because what, I'm entitled to my opinion. I've always been an opinionated person. I've always tried to kind of shoot straight from the hip. If we're going into a panel that's going to make a judgment call on a decision that's been made on a football field in the top flight in Scottish football, professional level of Scottish football, I would hazard a guess that it would make sense for there to be an ex-football person, an ex-football professional, i.e. someone that's been a full-time coach, manager, player, or all of the above. I think that would make sense. I get that we have to have other fields within that as well, ex-referee, I get all of that, maybe somebody with a legal background and all these types of things. But you guys tell me. I think we would all be a heck of a surprised that if we're making a call on something like that there's not someone that's been involved at a high level and a full-time basis, or as I say, player, coach, manager. That would make perfect sense. In any other walk of life, if there's any kind of appeal or anything like that, there'll be some sort of specialist, somebody that's got a kind of sharp eye and spent a lot of time on a full-time basis within that particular profession. So that surprises me. That surprised me. It must surprise most people.
I mean, it was the Tuesday that happened. It could have happened on a Wednesday, Thursday maybe, and still been done before the weekend if nobody's available. Yeah,
what people need to realise within this as well, I know there's been scenarios in the past where you lodge an appeal because you think that that's then going to allow you to play in an important game, or that's maybe going to try and delay the inevitable or anything like that. I can assure you that wasn't the case. Was with Jack, our scenario was that we as a football club, and so many different experiences, levels of time spent in the game, watching games of football, living, breathing it every day, we didn't think it was a red card. It was as simple as that. I spoke to, I'll not name any individuals, but after a game of football, when the dust settles and everything else, and you go and speak to people that I really respect in the game from another football club, namely the one that we just played against, they're kind of baffled about it as well. So you can understand where this general feel of am I being a wee bit irrational there? Am I being a little bit over emotional? There was a general consensus that if that decision went the other way, then there would be a real element of surprise and a feeling that it wouldn't have been correct. So from my side, I just think that it was obviously a tough one for us to take at the time, but I can assure you that the appeal from our side of it wasn't to play a game, wasn't to try and make a statement. It's genuinely because I myself, the chief executive, the football staff, the players, the chairman and everybody else associated with this football club genuinely don't believe that in our game, whether it's for Motherwell or for anybody else, that should be awarded as a straight red card.
Stuart, are you still in support of VAR in Scotland?
No, I'm not. And again, I said I would shoot straight from the hip. Do I believe that it's creating a better spectacle? Do I believe that it's there for fan enjoyment? Do I believe that it's there for even that raw emotion for players and for managers and for coaches, that when your team score a goal or something happens in the game? But I also do have to say, and this is where I'm abundantly clear, and day one I felt that we were going to get to the sharp end of the right outcome, being punctual with the decisions, finding our way as well. This is the other part. I knew it was never going to be perfect from day one, but I thought that incrementally we would start to see improvement and we would start to see those decisions. And I always speak about creating a story. So once I come in as a football manager to Motherwell, and once I sit here as the manager, from where we sit today, from where I came in the first day, it's going to be different, because once the ball starts to get rolling, there's instincts, you start to see player traits, you start to see characteristics of players, that starts to build a story, and you start to work off the back of that. So I'm not so sure that from what the instance we've seen and all the different things that we've seen, that there has been a dramatic change and improvement from within that. So you're asking me the question, am I for it? Now as I sit here, I think we would all enjoy it a heck of a lot better without it.
Obviously this weekend, Livingston, chance to kind of almost secure your safety. What are you expecting against David Martindale?
No, I think what you seen was an excellent result from Davy's team at the weekend against a Ross County team that I'd probably suggest are a bit resurgent. You know, they've had some good results off the back of a really good result against Rangers. So for Livingston to go and get their clean sheet, score a couple of goals in that, would suggest to you what their mentality is. It doesn't surprise me, and it won't surprise anybody in Scottish football, that they're still fighting, they're still alive, they're still fighting. They'll still have a belief that they can get themselves out of the position that they find themselves in, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't have any doubt in my mind about that. You know, starting to create other scenarios in my head or how I would sell that to the players. Livingston are going to come here and try and beat us on Saturday. They're going to come and throw everything at it. They'll have a load of energy. They've got some good quality in their team. I'd imagine they're going to get in our face and they're going to try and get after us, and we have to brace ourselves for that. But for several years with Davy involved, and some of these Livingston players that you still see today that have been involved in a good degree of success, then that's their characteristic, that's what they do. So we'll be giving them the utmost respect, and as I say, especially off that result and performance from them last weekend, then we know we're going to be in for a difficult game.
We asked you about Theo there last week, being nominated in the Team of the Year. Now it's Lennon Miller nominated for Young Player of the Year. You must be really pleased for him. Yeah,
delighted for him. It's a really nice landmark at such an early stage of your career to be nominated. You know, I'm surprised about it. I'm not saying this arrogantly. I'm not. When you see that type of talent, you see that type of quality, then I'm sure the guys that he's been playing against have been impressed by what he's done as well. But it's a really nice achievement for him at 17-year-old. Davy Watson, I would need to say, and they're being 17 years old. You know, it's brilliant for these young lads, and obviously the other two guys that are involved in that, they're slightly older, and it's a fantastic achievement for them. I just mean in particular when it's that kind of breakthrough and you're at such a tender age, such a young age. Then it's absolutely fantastic for them to find themselves in that bracket, come what may, whether they win the gong, whether they win the award or not. It doesn't really matter. It's a nice wee boost for them, and I can only speak for Lennon. I know that his feet will still be firmly set in the ground. It's just the lad he is. He'll take it, he'll run with it, and I'm sure that he'll put himself in a position where he tries to perform again this Saturday, which is my main concern on top of that.
And you've worked with a lot of talented players, you've developed a lot of players in your time at Motherwell. How far do you think Lennon can go?
I've not shied away from it because of the nature of the person and the lad that he is. He's unquestionably one of the, if not the best talent that I've worked with. But not just from how you kick a football, how you behave and everything that you do. So I just think he's a a really exciting talent. But you know what? I think most of you guys will have a feeling and understanding. For me, if he was playing at one of the other clubs, I would be waxing lyrical about them as well, because I'm just such a big believer, and I do get excited when you start to see really good football players in Scotland. It's good for us all. It's brilliant to market and sell the product and the brand in this country. And so from my side, yeah, I'm absolutely delighted that I feel that we've got one of the top guys at his age, and somebody that I believe can go on and have a real good future in the game, whatever level that comes. That's obviously down to Lennon, and sometimes a wee bit of luck as well. Sometimes you need some of those breaks, staying fit, all these different types of things. But no, he's an absolute pleasure to work with every single day.
Going back to Saturday, Stuart, obviously Motherwell's job is to take 3 points, which might ultimately relegate Livingston. Do you have any kind of sympathy for them in that fight?
No, there's, listen, I think what I've just said there is I have the utmost respect for Davey and his team. I really do, for what they've done over several years. But you know, we're all winners. We're all, you know, everybody says, "Oh, I'm a terrible loser," and all the rest of it. I want my team to win. I don't sit there with any sympathy, so to speak. I have respect, which is where I started with there. But my job's to go and try and see if Motherwell can get 3 points on Saturday. And sometimes the collateral damage and the outcome of that, I can't really concern myself with. I've got enough to worry about and enough to think about. But as I say, I definitely do have respect for them as a team, as the manager, the staff. I think they're good people. I think that they've done a terrific job. But as I say, they'll certainly not have that mindset. They'll believe that they can get out the position that they're in, which means that our focus has to be really sharp this Saturday.
How's your squad looking?
Yeah, we're much and such the same. We're starting to push a wee bit closer with guys like John Obika and Harry Payton. Hope to have Adam Devine back in about things either today or tomorrow. So yeah, it's starting to look a little bit healthier again. 1 or 2 more options added to it. But I need to stress again, none of these guys have had any game time since their injury. So that probably indicates how much they'll be able to offer us through the next couple of weeks, and how much we'll just need to build up on that.
Do you expect Adam Montgomery back at all, or is that looking unlikely?
That looks unlikely. I spoke to Adam last week. I've stayed on top of that. Just good relationship with Adam. Really good lad. Showed signs of being a good acquisition to us here on loan. So it looks as if that's probably going to go all the way to the end of the season. And Adam will have a particular plan set that, you know, he's going to have to do that extra work over the close season to make sure that he's ready to start the new campaign. So I'm fully up to speed with that. Adam's got a plan in his head, and Celtic have been excellent. Obviously working through what was a pretty substantial injury. You know, it was a pretty severe injury at the time, but he's in a good place. He's back running, and I think that he'll just get stronger over the coming weeks. But I wouldn't be expecting him back here.